Hello there, boys. How you doing today? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're doing another reaction video. I had an hour-long video that I had created, and it got corrupted. But with this being literally the next video on the docket list, I can go ahead and do this now. Well, do my next couple of videos now, and then try to remake the video that was lost. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
What this does is this picks up basically with a portal opening in Sonic's dimension, and Darkseid just like descending down in a pretty ominous looking ship. And right off the bat, Sonic and his guys don't necessarily know what to make of it. They initially think it's like a Dr. Robotnik type thing, right? You know, like, is this Dr. Eggman, right? Is it his whole thing? But of course, it's not. And then immediately after that, parademons start descending down onto everybody. And here's a question that I have for you guys. What would it be like if Sonic was like turned into a parademon?
So, apparently a parademon is like when you get your cells reformatted to become a parademon. Depending on how the cells get reformatted, I could see Sonic losing his chaos energy abilities, okay? And as much as people want to say Sonic's abilities are completely natural, it's only natural in the way that the X gene is natural, you know? Or the power cosmic is natural. If you're born with the power cosmic, you have the power cosmic. If you're born with your X gene activated, you have your X gene activated. But if you get your cells reformatted and you no longer have those genes, or you're unable to process chaos energy through your body naturally, well then you just do not have the ability anymore. So I don't think Sonic would be as fast or as cool as he is as a parademon.
Power to neutralize what we're searching for. And that in turn is when Darkseid says, like, destroy it. And Darkseid initially warns him. He says it'll take much of the Ragnarok's energy reserves to do so, and we will lose a potential totem of arcane power. But the response of Darkseid, if you make me repeat myself, there's going to be consequences and repercussions. So Darkseid doesn't repeat himself, and Darkseid issues the command. In destroying this crystal, it sinks and pretty much obliterates the entirety of Angel Island. Technically, it like plunges it down into the water, but it's not really a place that you can...
Darkseid having the father box, it makes his plan way harder. Because if he had a radar and was able to sense the fact that the Chaos Emeralds or the Master Emerald had the exact same signature, he would have just stole the Master Emerald and had the ability to take it somewhere else. And what I mean by this is that in Sonic lore, the Master Emerald comes from the planet that it's on, unlike the Chaos Emeralds. And also, the Master Emerald is so strong that it makes all the Chaos Emeralds actually react to its presence. So if you have the Master Emerald, you can find the Chaos Emeralds way easier. And it's not like finding things like a radar or using your senses. The Master Emerald will always be able to find the Chaos Emeralds because the Chaos Emeralds are weaker than the Master Emerald.
Flash doesn't know who Sonic is, and he actually calls him like Crackle, right? He's like, what are you doing here? And the response of Sonic is like, dude, you've got the wrong one, man, but I like the cut of your jib, right? I like your hustle. And so the response of Flash, he's like, sorry, man, like you're one of the locals? Okay, that's fine. Hang back, we'll handle the parademons. Sonic responds, right? He's just like, that's adorable. You can help out if you can keep up.
So I was looking up Crackle, and it did just looks like a Sonic parody, because I didn't know who Crackle was, so I don't get the reference, because whenever they put names in bold letters, it always seems like it's more important than it is, so I go look it up to see if I'm missing something in the story, so I'm not just sitting there not understanding something, and turns out Crackle is just a Sonic parody. Kinda weird.
So at that point, Flash is like, listen, dude, like I'm the Flash, I'm speed personified. And Sonic responds with the best response he could have given here. He's like, then I'm speed perfected, and immediately bolts off, right? He's like, I'll send you a postcard, partner, and like vanishes, right? It's absolutely amazing. Technically, they keep pace with each other, but it is really awesome to see these two guys encounter each other.
Now, let me ask the real question, okay? Sonic cannot enter the Speed Force. He literally cannot enter the Speed Force, mostly because it hasn't been proven yet. This could be the chance to prove it, but what if Sonic literally gets the ability to enter the Speed Force? Sonic's natural speed is already pretty quick, So wouldn't he have blue lightning?
For lack of a better word. But he's met by the arrival of John Stewart, the Green Lantern. And I'm going to call it right now. I have no idea if it's going to happen. I think Silver is going to become a deputized Green Lantern by John Stewart. I think he's going to become a Green Lantern in the story. And if he does, that's going to be amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. Imagine a psychic with Green Lantern powers. Like, who knows what this guy could dream up?
If you look at Silver's expression, you have no idea what's going on. And Comics Explained kind of just proves this immediately, because Silver's world is kind of like the most destroyed thing on the planet. No matter what he does, it's just like Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, where everything he does is just completely annihilated. There's not a single thing for him to go back to ever in the history of the world, even if he does change the past. The real question here isn't if he's going to get the Green Lantern powers. That's pretty obvious. If you really think about it, he's talking to Green Lantern. If they don't, there's no value to this interactional state. The question is how much willpower does he have compared to other members of the Green Lantern Corps? Because depending on how much willpower he has, the stronger the ring is, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So your question isn't how, if he gets it. Who cares if he gets it? The question is, if he does get it, how powerful as a Green Lantern will he be?
That Shadow the Hedgehog is basically the Batman of the Sonic universe, and if he wasn't before, I'm calling it now. I'm making that declaration now. That is an accurate statement. And
that nigga is Thomas Wayne Batman, not Bruce Wayne. Okay, let's be very clear about that. If he's close to any Batman, he's more closely related to Thomas Wayne. He's ultimately a good guy, but he's not the kind of good guy you think he would be.
Cyborg, and he literally says, enlist as many critters as you want to, it's not going to make a difference, right? Everybody's going to die, right? This guy gets the business end of a Knuckles sandwich, and then in turn, I did not mean to make that pun, and then in turn, Superman shows up and decks Calabac, and it's just like, dude, Superman's on the scene, and apparently he's teaming up with Knuckles, and so
Knuckles is way stronger when the Master Emerald is around, and with Knuckles having to protect the Master Emerald, he immediately fails at the beginning of the story his complete and utter character motivation. Knuckles' usual character arc is to literally just immediately get out of the story and get connected to it later, because the Master Emerald is so important to him that he's willing to give up a lot of other things in order to find the Master Emerald shards. The Master Emerald shards are able to be put back together and the entire thing will be reformatted. There has never been an instance where you shatter the Master Emerald and it goes into like itty bitty chunks that you just can't put back together. They usually blow up in a way that it makes them big enough to be reasonably found.
At that point, it all goes into kind of like the explanation and dialogue section of the story, because Sonic and his guys have no clue what's going on here. And of course, as you guys know, the Justice League is well versed in Darkseid. And so that's why Shadows just like start with the explanations. Who are these guys? Of course, Sonic and Flash show up at the nick of time. We all know that Flash definitely beat Sonic here, right? No sane human being would make a credible argument that Sonic is faster than the Flash. That's nonsense.
Sonic is not faster than the Flash. I would argue that anything the Flash can do, Sonic can probably replicate exactly how it happened. The only reason he's able to keep up with Flash is because he has like literal chaos energy just naturally imbued into him. He is very, very potent in chaos energy. In fact, anything Shadow can do, Sonic can most likely do too. The reason why Sonic doesn't do it is because he relies more on his speed more than anything, but Shadow relies more on his chaos energy abilities more than Sonic. So they're like literally the same thing power-wise, but anything Shadow can do, Sonic can do. Anything Sonic can do, Shadow can do. But they don't, because they have different motivations and care very little about what the other one has going on, especially powers-wise. Anytime Sonic gets a Chaos Emerald, bro, his immediate thing is to do Sonic Wind, and it's the most annoying thing to see in the world.
Batman goes to talk with him. Now, this is a phenomenal phenomenal moment between these two characters. Truthfully, I kind of expected the relationship between Shadow and Batman to be one where it was like Vegeta meeting Batman or something like that. All they do is just kind of sit around and grunt at each other and beat up bad guys. But instead, like, you have this great interaction where Batman's just like, who was it? Right? And Shadow's like, what are you talking about? And Batman says, the one that you couldn't protect, the one you watched die in front of you. And Shadow's like, how could you possibly know that? And Batman tells a story, right? He says, for me, it was my parents. I was too young, too weak to do anything. That pain, that anger, it never leaves you. I see it in you too. And that's where Shadow lets his guard down. And those of you guys who are familiar with this character in the Sonic mythos, it never happens that way. So the ability of Batman to reach Shadow in such a way to where he immediately starts telling Batman his story, even displaying this momentary instance of vulnerability, is a huge thing, because Shadow just says her name was Maria. She was gunned down by the military while trying to keep me safe. Me, the ultimate life form. And the response of Batman, which is him bridging the gap between the two, is, I swore to never let it happen again, to protect the city my parents loved, to protect the world. I will use every advantage at my disposal. That includes the Justice League. And here's where things become important, because it's not enough to simply say, well, my story's similar to yours. Because at that point, Shadow would just be like, well, that's good for you. You have to give him a reason to want to be a part of everything. And that's why Batman says, you're a valuable asset in stopping Darkseid. Likewise, we'd be valuable to you. And so ultimately, Shadow says, okay, then you better be worth the trouble. Now,
okay, I know that you can't focus on Shadow being insanely quick, because Shadow and Sonic both do the same thing speed-wise, so you have to focus on Shadow's chaos control abilities. But Shadow already learned this lesson at least twice now. He doesn't need to learn the lesson again, that he needs to work with the team. Now, he might think this is really stupid, and I think that would be the funnier angle to go with. Just be like, you guys are in tight spandex. What is this? I'm butt naked. That would have been the funniest joke, okay? That would have been the most hilarious joke. He's just like, you guys are in spandex and superhero costumes, and I'm fucking naked. You guys are stupid. Like, that would have been hilarious. But with that being said, this is the end of the first reaction. I don't want to steal both of his videos in its entirety, so yeah.
Seemingly the nature of the Chaos Emeralds, because under any other circumstance, this probably wouldn't work. So a great explanation that you guys gave for the Chaos Emerald in the comments of the last video is that Chaos energy is like the Force from Star Wars, and the emeralds are the way in which that Force is channeled to various people. And so in essence, Darkseid's a Jedi. Not really, but you get the point. And so seemingly the Chaos Emerald amplifies the power he already has. And
this is correct, but also kind of wrong. It's like if the Force created a Force ball that gives people who don't have the ability to use the energy, the ability to use the energy. Does that make any sense? Basically, the Chaos Emeralds do not exist without Chaos energy. If you have the Chaos energy, then the Chaos Emeralds exist, not the other way around.
To this, if you're someone like Superman or Doomsday who is so incredibly powerful that you can withstand the effect of Darkseid's Omega Beams, or if you're someone like Batman who's so popular, DC can't kill you, so they just time displace you when you get hit with the Omega Beams. That happened in Final Crisis. For those of you guys who don't know. But the important thing is this. They end up coming up with this plan, knowing they can never really escape, and the beams will follow them across the world until Darkseid makes it stop. That Flash goes low, Sonic goes high, and between the two of them, the beams hit each other and cancel each other out. But this was all just a distraction. Nothing more, nothing less.
Can someone explain why the beams didn't dodge each other? I don't understand that. If they're supposed to go through anything and stuff like that, and they're supposed to do whatever they must to get away or to you, why didn't they dodge each other? I'm so confused.
They can track the various Chaos Emeralds, but they haven't really had any luck yet. And the reason for that comes by way of a conversation between Darkseid and his henchman Darkseid. Because when Darkseid shows back up here, he tells Darkseid, ready the machine so we can harness the power of this Chaos Emerald. But he also asks, how is the hunt for for the other Chaos Emeralds going. And that's where Darkseid gives us this really interesting explanation. He says, it's the nature of their power. It's chaotic, unruly. It's almost as if they're actively trying to hide from the Father Box. Now, here's a question that I have for you guys out there who are Sonic fans. Are the Chaos Emeralds borderline sentient? Can they kind of like think for themselves? They can avoid being detected if they choose to? Again, I'm fairly new to this whole Sonic lore, so I'm looking to you guys to kind of help teach me on some of this stuff.
They're aware like anti-computer virus software. If I had to compare them to anything, a thing that I kinda don't understand about the Chaos Emeralds, and that's mostly because we don't know where they come from, is that from the planet they originally came from, they were able to sense the ability to find the big green rock that got destroyed at the beginning of this story, and lead the alien race who brought it here all the way there. If they don't want to be found, they usually can't be found, but you can always find them with radars, okay? So they can't turn off their energy signature, but they can prevent themselves from being found through sensory overload or something like that. Basically, if the Father Box is like an object that finds things in the universe based on omnipresence or based on natural instincts, it can stop that. But if you put like a Chaos Emerald in a driver and that driver is scanning for things with similar energy signatures, it can't hide themselves from that.
But what's our contingency? Darkseid already has mythic arcane power and can gain more. We may not be able to counter that. Now, of course, Superman, ever the hopeful, just kind of says, well, then we'll find the other emeralds and retrieve the one he stole. We will not fail this world. But again, it's more hopeful than reasonable. Something to point out here for all you guys who are Sonic fans out there and aren't really familiar with DC, this isn't a traditional Superman position to take. In fact, the position of Wonder Woman is the one that Superman would normally take, where she says, Batman's right, we need to plan for the worst, even while hoping for the best. What are our options if things get dire? Superman is very, very balanced, right? He's very centered more often than not. And so he's very good at kind of looking at both sides and sort of hedging his bets. So that's really more of a statement that he would make in DC Comics, right? Yes, let's do what we can to make sure we save the day, but in case we don't, let's also make sure that we have a plan. Now, again, it's a way to kind of give everybody on the team a particular role to play. The traditional role of Diana is just go in and start hitting stuff. Not really, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? And so Cyborg chimes in and says, I have an emergency boom tube prepped to return to the watchtower if things go sideways. So we do have an immediate exit.
At the end of the story, here's the like main issue with this. Knuckles usually just dips out of stories if the Master Emerald gets destroyed. What do I mean by this? In Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, he'll cross over with the other stories, but if the Master Emerald was just destroyed and Sonic and Tails never went to the same places, Knuckles would be completely disconnected from those stories. The only reason he's connected in any way whatsoever is because he just randomly gets sucked into the story halfway through. But there's a major issue. A really, really, really big major issue. Everyone's kind of out of character a little bit. Like, it's so ever slightly that you can find interpretations of that character from other parts of media that act similarly, but it's kind of still an issue because Shadow and Knuckles, they have very, very specific ways they interact with the world. Shadow wants to keep the world safe, and he will do anything to actually interact to, save his world. So basically, Shadow shouldn't be having issues working with teams, except for maybe the Justice League, right? He's kind of like your pragmatist, kind of like Batman, sadly. But he's the pragmatist. So he's gonna be like, hey, should we trust the people in literal spandex costumes? That's the only question Shadow should be asking. But then also, you have Knuckles, whose literal thing is protecting the Master Emerald with his life. So if the Master Emerald gets destroyed, he's gonna be a lot more angry at the person who destroyed it. Or if he can recover it and he can sense the chaos energy coming from the Master Emerald, he will literally just dip out of the story in order to find the Master Emerald shards and put the story back together.
And the tiny animal wished to challenge Steppenwolf. Very well, I will award your heads along with the gem to my lord Darkseid. And so at that moment you have Shadow, who makes his move move against Steppenwolf and uses chaos control. Now, here's something that I had to look up on YouTube because I'm not overly familiar with chaos control. As I understand it, chaos control is an individual's ability to manipulate chaos energy. Different people can do it, but as I understand it, Shadow is more adept at doing it than anybody else. So kind of using our Star Wars reference, sure, all Jedi can manipulate the Force, but not all Jedi are Yoda. I don't know if Shadow would be Yoda, but it sounds like it would be dope if he was. So, you guys get the point that I'm making. The ability to implement chaos control is the ability to stop space and time, in addition to various other abilities that come with manipulating chaos energy.
When he gets something wrong, it's ever such a smidge wrong that sometimes it feels like there's no reason to actually, say anything about it. But what I would say is that chaos energy gives you your abilities that you can then amplify with the chaos emeralds and chaos energy by having more of it. Sonic speed comes naturally from chaos energy because chaos energy is the Force from Star Wars. But also, if he has the emerald, he can do sonic wind. I hate sonic wind with every fiber of my being.
The overarching plot of this is, as far as Darkseid's motivation, outside of the fact of, number one, Darkseid's a dick, and number two, he does what dickheads do, which is this. Showing up in a universe and just trying to destroy it for no other reason than the fact that he can.
I need a ringtone that just takes out Darkseid's name and just goes like, he's a dick, and he does what dickheads do. Come on, bro. That could be a major ringtone. Or like some merch. I would buy merch if it had that language on it.
And so this kind of puts stakes on the whole thing, because Darkseid's intention is to destroy this world and even this universe and the multiverse after attaining the Chaos Emeralds. And so at that moment, Batman, understanding the full totality of what's going on, tells everybody, we have to abandon the hunt for the Chaos Emeralds. This is done. We have to take the fight to Darkseid. The problem is they have no real means of transportation to get to Darkseid directly. Enter Dr. Eggman. And I know a lot of you guys who were Sonic fans were dying for this moment, because I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't know if he was going to be an ally of Darkseid or if he was going to work against Darkseid. The cool thing here is he's working against Darkseid, and it's one of these scenarios of the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
It's always easy to tell who Eggman is going to work with. Despite how many people will tell you Eggman needs more layers, Eggman doesn't need any more layers. He just needs those layers that he already has to be a lot more diversified. Here's the thing with Eggman. Eggman's like, okay, I want to rule the world. If you want to destroy it, I'm against you. And then there's another thing. If I can't beat you because I want to rule the world solo, well, I'm not going to work with you or try. It just has those two prerequisites, and if you find either of those prerequisites, well then you know who Eggman is going to work with.
Sets Cyborg, the boom tube. And at that point, Sonic and them are encased in a green sphere. And they're like, what are you doing? And Batman's like, putting our faith in you. And they get shot through the boom tube. Right now, they end up in the Justice League's universe, where Mr. Terrific is waiting for them in the Justice League Watchtower. Now, it's not them in particular. He was waiting on the Justice League, so he doesn't know how they're there. But once they fill him in on what's going on, they tell him, like, reality's collapsing. They sent us through to protect us. We have to reopen the boom tube, and we have to help them. But the response of Mr. Terrific, I can't. There's no dimensional coordinates to target. Your world is gone. Darkseid, the Justice League, and everyone else is gone. There's nowhere to go back there. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end because I'm kind of dying to know, man.
I think my biggest disappointment with this story so far is that we haven't gotten any of the cool moments. Okay? Like, can Flash use chaos control? Can Sonic beat the Flash in a race? That's the answer we all want. Can Sonic enter the Speed Force, and how much faster would he get from entering the Speed Force? Like, there's so many questions I want to see answered, and depending on how long the story goes on, well, we'll get those answers, but I'm not sure if we're actually ever going to get those. Where I want the story to go is towards Time Eater, because if they go towards Time Eater, there's going to be a lot more story to tell there. But if they don't go towards the Time Eater, Eggman has to be involved somehow, okay? He's gonna literally just turn Darkseid into a robot. And then we're gonna bring back roboticization for the first time. In like 30 years, 20 years. I don't know. It could be that cool. But basically, I'm gonna see you guys later. Have a great day, and remember, life sucks. Like a prostitute.
Put your nose up in these bridges. We'll see a deep throat, 0.5 inches. Yeah. I stuck my fingers in. You were hiding, girl.